Hello, welcome to Save U.S. Taxes Legally. What I'm going to teach you is legal. It's in the IRS Tax Code 643B. It's not taught in school, but I want to teach it to as many people as people. If you are a U.S. business owner, an entrepreneur, franchisee owner, if you're a professional, you're a salesperson, or if you're in 1099 income earners, you'll stop paying federal and state income taxes legally with the Beneficial Spendthrift Trust. If you're a U.S. investor, you'll never again pay taxes on any of your profits. I know this sounds too good to be true, but it's in the IRS Tax Code 643B. Let's get into this, and I'm going to start sharing my screen. First off, let's start off with three simple questions. Number one, what if you can stop paying federal and state income taxes year after year, generation after generation, and leave a legacy? If you want to do that, please put yes into the chat. If it's a no, put no. Number two, what if I told you I could keep all your information completely private? Nobody will know what you own, where you own it, how much you own, or what you do with it. Again, if you want to say yes, put that in the chat. If you put no in the chat, that's fine. Just want to let you know that when I started the trust, I shut down 6 LLCs. I had 6 properties. I didn't know this until I started researching this, but Google says 40% of LLCs, S Corps, and C Corps get sued every year. It's public information. Anyone can go online to the Secretary of State, the Corporation Commission website, and research the LLC, S Corp, or C Corp by your name or your company's name. And again, that information is out there. And number three, I can't stop you from being sued, but what if I told you every single lawsuit becomes frivolous and goes away? How much time, anxiety, money, and worry just walks out the door? If you want lawsuits to end, put yes in the chat, put no into the chat. This is what the Spendthrift Trust can do for you. So, with the Spendthrift Trust, on here I should change the slide. It says save federal taxes, but you're going to save both federal and state income taxes. Keep your information completely private, and no judgments if sued, because you can't get blood from a stone. Okay, go down. Now, most people are unaware of there's 7 different layers to income taxes. It starts at 10%. The more money you make, the more money you pay. There's 4 ways to file your taxes. Single's the most expensive way. Head of household, you're divorced with children 18 or younger, is the second most expensive way. Married filing separately, and then the cheapest way is married filing jointly. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you learn nothing from this seminar other than this, look at married filing separately. On January 1st of 2025, quietly, the IRS changed married filing separately all the way up to 20 to 35% tax bracket to match single filers. If you're married, do yourselves a favor and file jointly. At 22%, instead of paying $50,401 is the start of the tax bracket, married filing jointly, it's double that amount at $100,801. Just save yourselves taxes right off the bat. I have talked to quite a few people whose CPA has them. Maybe one spouse is making W-2 income and the second spouse is making 1099 income, so they're filing separately. They're not doing you a service. They're doing you a disservice. So please check out how you file your taxes. Now, the full name for the Spendthrift Trust is Irrevocable, Complex, Discretionary, Non-Grantor Spendthrift Trust. You need all 5 elements to make this work. If you Google Spendthrift Trust, you'll get page after page after page of law firms that can help you do the Spendthrift Trust. I work with the Benson Financial Group. Paul Benson was a Harvard law professor. 78 years ago, he wrote 5 separate trusts to save specific money. In 78 years, not a single spendthrift trust has ever been audited. Now, unfortunately, Paul Benson has passed away, but his grandson and great-grandson run the law firm. And when you become a client, when you start one of the 5 trusts, you become a private client, and you'll get a certification saying if you get questioned by the IRS, they will defend you free of charge. In 78 years, only once has a spendthrift trust been questioned. It was a Beneficial Spendthrift Trust. A senior IRS agent was questioning if dividend income taxes could be saved. He went down to Texas where the law firm is located. He spent 5 hours in the boardroom. He approved the trust, and 2 weeks later, he sent an unsolicited letter to the law firm. We call it the Myers letter. If you need a copy of that letter, just put Myers and your email into the chat, and I'll email that to you. He retired from the IRS. He was an IRS agent for 27 years. And he went back to every person he spoke to in the 27 years. Either he audited them or he was questioning what they were doing. And he told them about the Business or Beneficial Spendthrift Trust. Now, if your CPA or financial advisor says, ooh, the IRS doesn't like tax code 643B, and they say they do not like the Irrevocable, Complex, Discretionary, Non-Grantor Spendthrift Trust, yes, they wrote this memo on August 9th of 2023. It's like Dr. Seuss books. Ooh, I will not eat green eggs and ham, Sam I am. The IRS can say they don't like this. It's a 15-page memo. On the first page, in bold letters, it says this is not tax information. The IRS cannot change the tax code. Only Congress can. I'll be honest, I do not have a crystal ball. I don't know if Congress is ever going to change tax code 643B, but too many presidents, too many senators, too many Congress people, and the people in their super PACs, the people who donate all this money to their campaigns, know the secret of the rich. My goal with doing this seminar once a week is to teach others the secret of the rich. Now, these 5 elements, you need them. Irrevocable means it goes from generation to generation to generation. The Rockefellers Spendthrift Trust is called the Office. It's 7 generations old. It has over 400 people under the same EIN or employee identification number, their tax ID number. Each individual family files their own separate 1041 tax return. So family A does their 1041 tax return, family B, family C, and family D. The money is not commingled, and Cousin Joe can't get money from Cousin Mary Jean, vice versa. Complex. This trust can hold money from day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, decade to decade, century to century. 97% of the trusts sold in the United States are what my mom and dad had and what Susie Orman talks about on television, the family trust or the living trust. There's nothing wrong with the family trust. It's designed to avoid probate and then dissolve and goes away. What I'm teaching you is not my mom and dad's trust. You stop paying taxes, you keep your information completely private, all lawsuits become frivolous, and if you're over 65 and on Medicare, it stops the IRMA surcharge in Parts B and D of Medicare. Discretionary. Whoever's a trustee or trustees make the rules for the beneficiaries from when they're alive and from the grave. There's no infighting, there's no contesting a will or anything else. Personally, I have 7 nieces and nephews as beneficiaries. If I decide I don't like one of my nieces and leave her a penny, she can't change it or do anything about that. Lucky for her, I love all my nieces and nephews equally. Non-Grantor. This makes the trust completely private. When you start either the 5 different trusts, again, I'll just say them very quickly. The business trust to save federal and state income taxes. The beneficial trust to stop paying taxes on profits on any investments. The mineral rights trust, if you have shale rights, coal rights, or oil rights. The 501c3 Beneficial Spendthrift Trust, if you want to be a nonprofit, several of my clients are. And finally, the senior trust. This is a blind trust for the senior. They're over 65 and they have dementia or they've had a stroke. Somebody else is in control of the money. If the person who's 65 or older has their senses, I would not sell that trust. But when you start the trust, you will have someone who will never be a beneficiary and who will never be a trustee sign up to be your grantor or your settler. They sign up and say, I'm approving this trust, and then they sign themselves away. When someone goes to research the trust, they will not find out who owns it. Personally, I used a family friend, Roy, who knew me before I was born. He was both my grantor for both my business and my Beneficial Spendthrift Trust. He signed himself up. He signed himself away. I believe he had to sign his name 5 times. I've done this for many of my clients free of charge. And yes, he knew I was a real estate investor, but he had no idea what I was doing. And then finally, the spendthrift. I have two pages of case law. If you want a copy of that, you can again put in chat case law and your email address. I will email that to you. This is legal. It's in IRS Tax Code 643B. One of the reasons you've never heard about this is because there are a million active attorneys in the United States. Only 4% are trust attorneys. A textbook trust attorney study in law school is called Scott and Asher on Trusts, 5th edition. Also, if you're near a law library, it's in Black's Law Dictionary. I have talked to several people who are selling other trusts where they don't have the whole education behind them. I purposely went with the Benson Financial Trust because I knew the grandson and great grandson have the name they uphold. And I know there's 7 trust attorneys on staff. If anything comes up, they're there to answer my questions. I feel secure with this. I did do a meeting with a Atlanta real estate group where one gentleman raised his hand. He said, I have my spendthrift trust. I didn't have to pay that much money for the trust. And I'm like, and if I asked him what kind of real estate he was doing. He said, I have 6 Airbnbs. And I'm like, if someone tries to sue you at the Airbnb, who's going to defend you? He couldn't answer the question. He didn't know what the name of the attorney was. He's never gotten any training on the trust. You know, if I'm a real estate investor with 6 properties, I want to know a little bit more than just, hey, I have this trust. Now, my personal story, so you have it. I became a real estate investor in 2018 when my mom got sick 2,000 miles from home. My mom and dad lived in Goodyear, Arizona. They drove 25 miles west of Phoenix. They drove from Goodyear, Arizona to Charlotte for my oldest nephew's wedding. My mom wasn't feeling well. My dad took her to the emergency room. They right away put her in the hospital. She had septic of the blood. She was on a ventilator for 13 months, in a hospital for 15 months. Thank God my brother and his wife lived in Charlotte. My dad stayed with them for the 15 months. And every single day he went and visited my mom in the hospital and talked to her. Now, the first week of December, I lived in Phoenix. The first week of December is going out to their house every weekend to do the mail because my parents were supposed to be gone for 2 weeks, not 9 months or not 15 months. There was a letter that was 27 pages. It was my mom's Medicare statement for going to the emergency room and 1 month on a ventilator, all the things they did to her. Not a bill, just her Medicare statement. When I opened it up, it was $72,000. Now, my dad, retired military officer, they had TRICARE for life. Everything was being taken care of. He didn't have to pay a penny out of pocket. I'm standing in my mom and dad's kitchen. I have 2 car payments, 1 car, because some idiot ran the red light, T-boned my 3-week-old car, and silly Sally had the paperwork for gap insurance sitting on her kitchen table. She had 4 weeks to fill it out. Did she do it? Nah. Second thing that happened, I have a mortgage. I have student loans. I have credit card debt. I'm working a job I do not like as a Medicare broker. I had the time saved up, and when I requested the Friday before the wedding and the Monday after the wedding off, it was October 27th, during open enrollment, they denied me the time. I took a red eye Friday night and had to come back on Sunday. So right then and there, I called Glenn, my friend, on my cell phone from my mom and dad's kitchen. He had invited me to a real estate meeting back in August of 2018. He's like, Sally, next Saturday, we're having a Christmas potluck dinner. Get a $5 gift, bring some food, meet my fellow real estate investors. I only knew Glenn and Rhonda, his wife. They were going to come in, be there late, about 9:30, and he told me to show up at 6 o'clock because that's when the party started. I pulled up my big girl pants. I went to the party. Best decision of my life. I actually met my third cousin. His great grandmother was my grandmother's younger sister. He's living in Phoenix. He's doing assisted living homes. I met all sorts of people at the party, and I joined the real estate group. In 2019, my mentor taught us how to do bank-owned houses. He was on a list of tapes. Honestly, it's an Excel spreadsheet. And this is one of the properties I bought. In July of I'll get to this in just a second. Sorry, I have to tell the whole story. In 2019, I wholesaled 7 bank-owned properties nationwide, paid off all my debt, and I was a rock star in my real estate group. I thought I was doing everything correctly. I had saved $50,000. I had put money into notes or on the paper on the house, and COVID struck. When the federal government said you can delay paying your mortgage during COVID, on April 1st of 2020, my 6 notes did not pay me. I'm the Bank of Sally, not the Bank of America. You had to keep paying me. On April 4th of 2020, my CPA calls me because I had 6 LLCs. I did my K-1s from March 15th to put into my taxes for April 15th. So that information from the K-1s go into your 1040 tax return. My CPA says, congratulations, Sally. You made so much money in 2019. Your tax bracket went from 22% to 24%. I'm going to go back here, right here. So my tax bracket went from 22%, I was single, up to 24%. And now you owe $94,000 in taxes. Really, I have nothing coming in and I only have $50,000 saved. He's like, don't worry. My solution is set up an appointment with me, get on a payment plan, pay interest and penalties. I'm like, that's not helping me. I literally had a conversation today with a gentleman in Georgia who got a payment plan back in 2021, and he's paying an additional $1,200 a month for the next 6 years to pay off his tax bill, because it too happened to him. A fantastic book to read, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. I went to bed on April 4th of 2020 crying because my family loves me, but nobody in my family had an extra $44,000, and I didn't know what I was going to do. On April 5th, I woke up. I knew I was going to contact my friend whose boyfriend did HELOCs and paid off houses. I had paid off my townhouse, and I had read an article about the Rockefellers Spendthrift Trust. I was working from home, saving 2 hours of commuting time and rush hour traffic in Phoenix. So I started researching the Spendthrift Trust. In September of 2020, I started teaching a mastermind in my Phoenix real estate group that had over 800 people in it, how they too could stop paying taxes. I had an agreement with the gentleman who ran the real estate group. He shut down 14 LLCs, and I don't know what happened to his Airbnb across the street from the Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale, a multi-million-dollar house. He tells me one of his guests is suing his S-Corp. He didn't shut down his S-Corp because he had business credit on it, and that he didn't have to pay the taxes. He wouldn't have to, couldn't be sued. When I informed Zach, he didn't sue the trust, he sued the S-Corp. That's a public information. You're going to have to defend that court case. When he lost the court case, the real estate group completely shut down. I moved to North Carolina and I started doing upset bids. This was my first property in the trust. I bought it in July of 2020 for $20,000. Oh, the symmetry with that. July 2020, $20,000. It was going to go to auction when COVID restrictions were lifted for $50,000. I knew my tax break was at 24%, so that $30,000 in the spread would be $7,200 for me to pay when this went to auction. I started my trust in September. I bought this property in July because Benson Financial Trust teaches you how to do things correctly. I was able to move this from an LLC to my trust very easily. When it finally went to auction on August 28th of 2021, the final bid was $64,326 without lifting a hammer, the way I like to invest. I made $44,326 on one deal only. Times that by 24%, yeah, because that's my tax bracket, I got to save $10,368.24 I'll never have to pay back and put into more real estate. I also found, when I did this property, I found out how to do upset bids in North Carolina. So I came to North Carolina, Christmas of 2021. I won 3 upset bids, 2 in Union County, 1 in, if I pronounce this incorrectly, please forgive me, Carabas County, for raw land. I wholesaled all 3 pieces and made $89,000 in profit in 3 weeks. My older brother's like, did you rob a bank? How are you making all this money? I'm doing it through my Spendthrift Trust. Now, the business trust is for anyone who is making 1099 income. I cannot help W-2 income earners. Google says 35% of W-2 income earners have a side hustle. I did in 2019, working as a Medicare, being paid W-2 income. I was wholesaling 7 bank-owned properties through the year, calling real estate agents and working with things. If usually with your with your side hustle, that side hustle is being paid in 1099 income. I guarantee if you make $100,000 as a business owner, an entrepreneur, a franchisee owner, a professional, a doctor, a truck driver, somebody in trades, maybe you're an electrician, a plumber, a mechanic, maybe you're a salesperson making 1099 income or self-employed. If you make $100,000 a year, you will save 5 figures in taxes no matter how you file, single, head of household, married with children, uh, uh, married filing separately or married filing jointly, or if you live in one of the 43 states with state income taxes or one of the 7 states without state income taxes. This is a gentleman I met at a BNI meeting that he has a franchise called Made in the Shade, blinds, shades, shutters, and draperies. He got on my calendar. He had his 2025 taxes. He knew where to look at it. He knew he was at 24% tax rate. We used this information for the full year of 2026. He would save $45,176. That breaks down to $37,681 in federal taxes, and in state income taxes, $7,495. Now, this gentleman, we're going to call him Jim, he started this trust in May of 2026. So per month, for January, February, March, and May, he'll file a 1040 tax return. He'll worry about deductibles, all the deductibles and everything else. But from May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, he's going to file a 1041 tax return. He will, with the numbers he's saving, he's going to save $3,764 per month. This is his money. He can put it back into his Made in the Shade. He can pay off his mortgage. He can take his family on a well-deserved vacation. He can give to his favorite charity, or he could save for retirement, or he could do all 5 things at the same time. When he started this trust, we got him a new EIN, employee identification number, and a letter for the bank. He went to the bank of his choice. I know he's using Chase. He set up a new bank account. His receivables go into that new bank account. All his payables come out of that bank account. He pays for a bookkeeper, and he has one person working for him part-time in the evenings. He pays them from the new bank account as a W-2. His employees, a W-2 income earner, they pay. He does employment taxes after he saves the federal and state income taxes. That's for anyone making 1099 income. Now, the beneficial trusts I was telling you about, this is why I started both my trusts. I have an Amazon store. I get paid 1099 when I get people to join my national real estate group, and I get residuals on being an insurance agent. If you will stop paying short-term and long-term capital gains when you sell something at a profit. You'll stop paying interest income taxes. You'll stop paying dividend income taxes. You'll stop paying rental income taxes, and you'll stop paying royalty income taxes. Royalty income taxes are taxed a little bit less, between 10% to 35%, 7 different layers. So that's why it's not on the slide. This is just to show you if you make $50,000 in profit, whatever your tax bracket is. Mine was 24%. I would save $12,000. At $100,000 at 24%, I would save $24,000. I'm going to be honest, I do a lot more than that this time. I'm really at 35% tax bracket right now, pushing my way to the 37% tax bracket. So short-term capital gains are when you wholesale, fix and flip, do auction houses, tax liens, you sell crypto. No matter if you bought Bitcoin back in 2017 and you're selling it in September of 2026, it's still short-term capital gains. You're an options trader. You're a Forex investor. That's short-term capital gains. Long-term capital gains are a year or more for when you sell your business, sell an investment property, or a baseball card. I have a slide on that in just a second. Interest income taxes are for people who are passive investors. They're in mutual funds. They're in a REIT. They do subject to real estate. The BRRRR strategy. I have notes where I'm the paper on the house. People pay me their mortgage. Seller financing, creative financing, or Forex investors. Again, that's taxed between 10% to 37%, whatever your tax bracket is. Dividend income taxes. You're in the stock market. You're a day trader. You're a futures trader. You're a commodities trader, or you're living on dividends. Again, the only thing you will change, one of my clients, they have a whole bunch of dividend paying stocks. Their broker had to change. They had to get, I think it's called a Ruby certification from their bank account. And the broker had to change the name on their stocks from their name to the trust name. And then all the, let's say they're getting paid every quarter, the dividends go into the new bank account that's with the Beneficial Spendthrift Trust, and they no longer have to pay dividends. Rental income taxes. Yes, you can move a property with a depreciation schedule. Yes, you can move a property with a cost averaging schedule into the trust. And because that property is now in the trust, you'll never have to pay back the depreciation money you've saved. So if you have short-term rentals like Airbnb, vacation rentals, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 doors, maybe you're in multifamily real estate, maybe you're in apartment real estate, you're in commercial real estate, or you're doing Airbnb arbitrage. Again, the one that's not on here, royalty income taxes. If you're an actor, an actress, a musician, an author, an artist, you have NFTs, copyrights, patents, or intellectual property. Robin Williams, the great comedian actor, he had the Beneficial Spendthrift Trust. Yes, he committed suicide, but it did not negate the trust. His 3 adult children pay no royalties on all his wonderful works. Now, this is a wholesale deal I did. It was a tax lien I got for $7,000 in Pownell, Vermont, very rural, about half an hour from Killington. How I was trained by my mentor, you call a local real estate agent, anyone who sold property within the last year. I called the real estate agent. She knew exactly what property we were talking about. She knew the husband and wife had passed away. She knew the kitchen was a 1950s kitchen and had never been updated. And she's just like, I would love to turn it into an Airbnb. What if I gave you $100,000 for this property? I'm like, fantastic. So with one phone call, I was able to make $93,000 at 24% tax bracket. I got to save $22,320. Now going up here to this one, I saved $10,368. Now on this one, I'm saving $22,320. So I have saved over just on what I'm showing you, over $34,000 in taxes that I'll never have to pay back. Now, long-term capital gains are either 15 or 20%. This couple that had this apartment building, they bought the apartment back in 2012 for $1.5 million. They knew they were going to sell it. They did upgrades and everything else, and they were going to put the money into another apartment building. So they were selling it for $5 million. When the wife had seen one of my videos and knew about long-term capital gains, when they wouldn't have to pay on April, they sold this in April of 2024. So April 2025, at 15%, they saved $570,000, and or at 20%, they saved $760,000. I explained to her, I'm a real estate investor. I'm not an accountant, but this is how it's going to work. They're like, that's the money we get to save. I'm like, that's the money you get to save and put it back into more real estate. Now, IRMA. This is a charge, an extra charge on Medicare. It's got nothing to do with your taxes. Every October, the IRS goes back 2 years to 1040 tax returns, and their supercomputers add everything together. How much you're getting from Social Security? Do you have any pensions? Are you working while you're on 65 or older? Did you do a 401k withdrawal, a SEP withdrawal? You have capital gains, interest income taxes, dividend income taxes, rental income taxes, or royalty income taxes. They add everything together. I have the numbers for 2026, but not a chart. If you're single, head of household, or marrying filing separately, the threshold is $109,000. Everything added together, and you make more than $109,000, you're paying the premium on parts B and D, which are visiting doctors, tests, and your prescriptions, a surcharge. If you're filing married and make more than $218,000, you're paying the surcharge. This is the chart for 2026. Again, I don't have this chart yet for 2020. This is the chart for 2025. I don't have the chart for 2026. So my couple that I was telling you about, that they had to change their stock certificates to the trust name, he was unaware that his wife was paying for each of them over $800 per month. I got them to save per person $449. Double that together, that's an extra $900 saving on IRMA surcharges, plus the dividend income taxes. I know I've gone over these slides quite quickly. Set up a 30-minute tax breakthrough session with me. I'm going to ask you how you file your taxes. Are you married, single, divorced, or widowed? What state you live in? You're going to give me your gross number before you take any deductibles, and I will show you how much you will save in federal taxes and how much you'll save in state income taxes when you make an appointment at www.thetrustisisyou.com/scheduling. Now, if you want more information, I talked about case law. I talked about the tax bracket. There's 3 articles from Forbes magazine. And if English is not your native language, if you go out to sallygimmon.com, you're going to register as a free learner. There's one step you're going to register. It's a free class saying save U.S. taxes legally. Today I talked to a gentleman who his native language is French. He's from West Africa. His English was beautiful, but when I told him about translating the class into French, he's like, "Oh, I'll sign up to do that." When you go out there, again, I was sending by email the 3 articles from Forbes magazine, the 2 pages of case law, examples of clients saving thousands of dollars. This way, I don't have to kill someone's email. My goal is to teach this to as many U.S. business owners, U.S. entrepreneurs, U.S. franchisee owners, U.S. professionals. Maybe you're a doctor, a psychiatrist. Today, it was a dermatologist. You're in trades. You are a plumber, electrician. I have self-employed truck drivers. It pays for your diesel fuel. Or you're self-employed, or you're a salesperson making 1099 income. You make $100,000 a year or more, I will save you 5 figures in taxes. If you're an investor, I don't care what kind of investing you do. Personally, my 2025 taxes, I wholesaled 4 properties. My friend Glenn does my options trading. I have a crypto bot between Ethereum and Bitcoin. I get paid 2 cents here, 25 cents there, whatever it is. I make about $60 a day in capital gains. I have 12 notes. I had right now at the time I had 5 seller financing properties. I had 5 rentals, and because I get paid, the trust is copyrighted. They pay my trust, so I don't pay royalties on that on my 2025 taxes. Thank you for watching my video. Again, this is a secret of the rich. I've just taught you how you can stop paying taxes. You want to set up a 30-minute tax breakthrough session with me. It's www.thetrustisisyou.com/scheduling. It's your information, your timeline, and when you want to get this started, I will send you the contract. Have a beautiful day. Stop paying taxes.